Facebook or turned YouTube off when I was playing with my software.
Now, is that something you can fix midstream? If
I don't know, but I checked it before I came in here today, so I should be good. I should be up and going. Yeah, okay. So YouTube's showing that I'm live, and show is Facebook. So I guess I didn't mess it up this time. But yeah, last week I managed to turn off I managed to turn off the the YouTube live last week. So nobody knew I was doing it. We were doing it, and I think a few guys found me through you because they
sure,
knew, But
yeah,
yeah, I messed that up last week. That was on me. Hi guys, we just getting started a little early here after last week's little mess up. I want to make sure I didn't have anything turned off that's supposed to be turned on, and I hope the audio and everything works. I'm still waiting on some more gear to get delivered. You know,
don't be a
Steve
gearhead.
says I'm a gear junkie.
Oh, hey everyone, Jack, Michael, Philip, Dave, Jim, Blue Sky. How y'all doing?
What's up, Casey? I see you there. Yeah, I think we're gonna have a few more people than we had last week. Now that I didn't botch that, but yeah, the week's been busy for me too. Long week. Hello from Houston. Wonder if everybody's getting rain like I am. You see, I'm back in a hoodie, don't you, Steve? I hope you're proud of yourself. You ran off the warm weather.
Hey, I if I could control it, you don't think I'd make it warmer up here?
Yeah, after seeing some of the pictures of your house, you need to do something with it because that's ridiculous. There's some of your neighbors, North Central Minnesota, MEN Customs. Doing good, just burning up down here in Houston. Well, yeah, Houston I would imagine would be a little warmer than it is here. Last time I was in Houston, it was after a hurricane. It was the mosquitoes down there were forced to be reckoned with.
Oh, you get a normal year up here where we're not in drought and the mosquitoes are pretty bad.
Downtown Clanton, Birmingham Fire. I think that's JR. Hello, JR. Clanton Fire Department. Tucson, Minneapolis. There's another one of your neighbors there, Steve.
Yep. I'll be up there in 10 days for a couple days, north side.
You doing like an on-site promo or what you got going?
No, it's for work.
I don't know if maybe you have like a meet and greet up there or something.
No, I actually have been asked. So there's a group, Woodworkers Guild, in the Twin Cities area, and I've gone to they have a fall kind of gathering, and I've been asked a couple times from some of their organizers if I'd like to do something with lasers at that, and keep chatting with them about maybe, but we'll see.
All right, so hey there, South Carolina, 80 in Houston. Yeah, that's a little warmer than it was here today. Look at that. Oh, David Klein. Klein there is he's in training, Steve. That's the guy that I've been working with. He's got one of the machines that I had extra in my way over here. He's trying to learn some stuff.
Nice.
Well, hello there, Mr. Davis. Norbert. Norbert's been with me, I think, since the beginning. He's been around a while. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anybody, guys. Letting everybody get in here. It's still a little early. But if you got any questions, go ahead and start getting those in the comments because, it takes me a minute scrolling trying to read these comments. Elk Grove, California. That's right. I do remember you saying he was from California. Roseville, California. So we've officially made it. I saw New Jersey and I saw California. So does that mean we're coast to coast?
What is that called? The cannonball run from New York to LA.
And then we got Houston down south in Texas, and then we got some of your neighbors up there in Minnesota. So it seems like we've covered it. We covered it up pretty good. Michael's fab. I really like the stove cover rack. Well, Michael, since you mentioned it, guys, I have never been made feel dumber in my entire life than I was this morning when I opened up Fusion 360 and started working it. Some of you guys are wizards at this stuff and will probably make fun of me, but I actually managed to blueprint and do a diagram of the Clack Shack rack. Now, there's some minor issues with it, but for the most part, I got it done. And I still got most of my hair. I did have to take a few breaks because it was rather frustrating. Fusion 360 was something I downloaded it the other day and tried it out before I purchased it, but it took a lot of patience. Look there, Nova Scotia. We have made it to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky, that's not far, right? New York, the Syracuse, New York. I think that's actually further than New Jersey. So yeah, but yeah, I like the rack. It turned out pretty well. Let me swap cameras, or let's see if I can add this camera over. I've got it sitting over here beside me there, just kind of chilling. And there comes Fluffy. She's hiding. But yeah, I got it done, and then I got my blueprints done. So I'm happy with that. Little sigh of relief once I got that done. Question for the future. Okay, I see the question. So let me go ahead and throw that up there when we read it. There you go. That's you, Steve.
That's me. Okay.
Yeah, more experience with the CO2 than I got.
One of the big things you'll notice with the diode is portability. You can move it to your work. You can put it on a larger object, do the engraving. And what you don't have is as much maintenance issues. You don't have to worry about cooling your laser tube. You don't have to worry about your mirror alignment, things like that. So it's an easier device to use. It's more portable, a little more flexible in how you use it, because with the CO2, it either fits in there or fits through its pass through or not. With the diodes, you can set it on and kind of use it as needed in place. So
yeah, there's your another one for the for the machines with no light burn. I haven't had that problem. Only K40 I've ever had is the bond port, and it works with light burn. So
that is the reason I did not get a K40 early on, is their lack of light burn support, their lack of a way of adjusting the power easily through the software. So if you can, you can do your upgrade board on it. Otherwise, it's basically a lot of trial and error. You're going to have to set your power, run your test, and make adjustments from there. But yeah, when I first started looking into lasers about 7 years ago, I was looking at those original K40s, and quickly decided that was going to be a limiting factor for me, and jumped up to the next size.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that Michael and whoever it was said they like my rack. As far as replacement lenses, I haven't had to replace lenses on either of my machines. My 10 watt is a little over, well, it's about 13, 14 months old now. And as y'all have seen in my videos, I burn a lot of stuff. May and some of my other customers keep me busy. And but now my original standard did not have that lens. Occasionally I do try to clean it, not all the way up inside the module, but I clean around the exit point of the laser. But it's still going. My 20 watt does have the lens, but so far so good with it. But like I said, guys, I use it. My 20 watt stays in a vacuum enclosure with downdraft for the smoke, and I always run air assist. So I don't know if that contributes to it or not, but from hearing how regular people have to replace those lenses, it tends to make me believe that it's something that I do differently in either my exhaust management or my cleaning regimen or the air assist. If there's a variable somewhere, because I've had my 20 watt Pro ever since they came out, and I'm still working with the same lens it came with.
So if you're talking about the cover lens, that is just, it screws off And on the inside, if you have your original one, they have kind of a brass inside nut that goes inside the brass sleeve. That may be glued in, and so you want to soak it in acetone to break up that glue. The newer ones have just kind of a silicone ring in there, and they might be a little more just silicone glued in place. And so that should pop out after that. You want to just clean it up, soak it in some pure alcohol as best you can, and then kind of just reassemble it as was. So you don't need to buy the whole thing. You can just get a replacement lenses. There's a few third-party guys out on the Facebook groups that do sell those.
Yeah, I think Michael's asking if it's necessary for the D1, the lens.
So the thing is, it can protect your actual focus lens from taking the damage if you're getting that smoke and debris up in there. On the contrary, it can also collect it. So you can run it without it, but you do want to make sure that you have really good air circulation in there to move the debris out then.
Yeah, that's my advice. 200 cones on the computer. I'm trying to read this one here. Dog collars or leather saucers.
Oh, shoot,
that's the same as leather. I use my little pins.
Yeah, I have.
I got to get those on Etsy.
I have some little. I just cut them out of like MDF or 3mm plywood. They're basically like a J style hook that goes down into the honeycomb and cinches down on top of the material. That would work. You have something similar with your pins.
Yeah, and I got to get these guys on Etsy because every time somebody sees them, they're like, "Why aren't these on your Etsy?" But this is what I use, guys, and these are just little scrap pieces of wood. I built me a little frame, a little burn pattern for them. These are intended to be disposable, and that's one reason why I didn't want to put them on Etsy, because people all the time wanting to come up and say, "Well, I downloaded it and it broke." Well, these are really, really thin to stay out of the way of the laser, and therefore they do break really easy. But they're made from scrap wood, and it's a really easy burn. There's actually two different sizes because the X and the Y axis of the honeycomb, the spacing is different. So I've got two different sizes, but I use these guys here to kind of pin down anything that might want to try to ride up on me or curl. Turn that off again.
Yeah, this is a 3D printed version of the ones I use. They just push into the honeycomb, and it's just basically the size of the honeycomb, so it puts enough kind of pressure on the honeycomb to hold it stiff in place, and then the tabs can just go down on either side. So
okay. Okay, you said the giraffe, is that better than a cross on top? That is a matter of opinion. I don't know that there's any scientific evidence to back it up.
The benefit to a downdraft is it's gonna be more likely to keep the smoke away from your laser module. So as long as you've got enough airflow, if you can pull it down, great. But you also, depending on where it's coming from, you may have to you may be pulling that smoke across your material as well, and that can cause a little bit of extra staining. But
yeah, the objective, in my opinion, is the staining and the deposits that get on those lenses and stuff is contained in that smoke and in those fumes. And as your laser is going back and forth, if those vapors and everything have an opportunity to go up into the laser module, you're going to get a lot more collection than you would if between the air assist and the downdraft table, if all the smoke's being pulled out and to the side. Now, like Steve said, you can get a little bit more yellowing doing it that way, but I sand most everything that I engrave anyway. If it's metal, you're not going to notice it. It's not going to stick to any kind of anodized or powder coated substances or anything like that. But with wood, I hit it with sandpaper regardless, because I do run air assist all the time. And yes, it causes a little extra yellowing, but I'm running with the same two machines that I've had for over a year without any kind of repairs or anything needed other than just cleaning. So that's my stance. It may not make a difference, but in my opinion, there's definitely something going on there.
So, Barb, if you have access to a 3D printer for these, you can find this file on Thingiverse. You will need to possibly adjust them based on the actual honeycomb size. So you want to measure the kind of the diameter of the weave. But they do, if you have the D1 or if you have the X tool honeycomb, I know there's one on there that they're sized right for that, and then you can just scale it from there for anything different.
There are lots of honeycombs on Amazon that are steel, and Steve's a big advocate of that as well as I am. The biggest thing is you're going to want to make sure it's steel for magnets to be able to stick to it. If you get an aluminum one, they're not going to stick. All of my honeycombs, I've got an X tool honeycomb, I've got Comgrow, and I've got the Nivel, and all three of those are steel. And if you want to go to my channel or Steve's, either one, we've got some videos in there. I can drop a link for you. I would recommend getting the bigger the honeycomb, in my opinion, the better. My favorite honeycomb for the 10-watt single frames is going to be the Comgrow large. That's like 20, close to 25 by 25, because you can set the entire machine on top of it. The X tool honeycomb is significantly smaller. I think it's like 18 by 18. And the machines don't sit on the honeycomb, which causes you have to use risers. But if you get the large one from Comgrow, you can set pretty much the whole machine on top of there. At worst, you just had to add like a 3/4 inch spacer or something like that to get the one set of legs up off the table. But the Comgrow, the larger one from Comgrow, I like those. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of digging the one from Nivel, because even if I do get a long machine, it'll still work for that. So. There's your question. I haven't had any problems. I don't know about you.
So I've been running the latest version for a couple weeks. I haven't run into any problems with any of my lasers. I've been running. So you can load this on 2 or 3 if you write them and ask nicely. So you can always test it on one computer before, if you have a spare computer, you can test it on one before upgrading the other. And that's what I often do. So the one that actually has been running my diode lasers is a couple versions back still, and it'll just throw me the error saying, hey, this is made on an older version or a newer version. But I haven't run into any problems with it yet. So
Steve, that guy said he just bought your enclosure plans.
Awesome. Sounds great. If you have any questions on it, reach out to me.
Mine is a D1 Pro 20 watt. I think that's the same guy I was asking about the honeycomb. But yeah, like I said, the bigger the honeycomb, the bigger where you can get the entire machine up on there. That's going to save you a little bit of engineering in the long run. Not that you can't go buy my little adapters if you do get the X tool honeycomb, but it's easier just to get the Comgrow and set it on top of it. But either way.
The large Comgrow honeycomb is kind of my go-to one right now for anything outside of my enclosure. It's too big for my enclosure. I'll have to redesign it, I guess.
I think Steve might have a little information.
Yes, I think you will see a 30 or 40 watt diode laser from X Tool in the very near future. Very near future.
I figure they're all gonna keep compressing these diodes, keep compressing them until they can't compress them anymore. I think they're gonna keep doing it at least until the modules just get to where they're insanely large. But I hope they start making the frames bigger though.
Yeah, and you got to remember they're using a collimating lens, so they're not. You're kind of aligning multiple beams together next to each other to kind of get that power. So you're going to have diminishing returns there, and you're going to have an increasing focal point. The more individual diodes they throw at them. Hopefully, the diode technology takes another leap at some point here. But yeah, they're going to try to milk everything out of these as they can as far as power.
Yeah, that's the only gripe I have is they went from a 2.5 watt up to a 5 watt, and then up to a 10 watt, now up to a 20 watt, and everybody's still doing the 400 by 400 or thereabout. I'd like to see them get up to where it's like 600 by 600 or 500 by 500. That would be, and it would, because you actually lose workspace if you go with the 20 watt X tool rather than the 10 watt because the module is larger.
Right. Now, Sculpt Fun has expansion kits in both directions if you want to go that big. But it's still kind of on their 20 by 20 extrusion. I think you're going to start seeing a lot of flex, and you're going to start introducing some if things aren't perfect, you're going to start amplifying them pretty quick.
Blue sky. What I typically do is I actually make a little wooden frame that goes around the honeycomb. I use my jig kit on every machine I have, and so I take a piece of 3/4 material and just make a little frame that goes around the honeycomb, and that allows me to cut out one of my interlocking kits and screw it to that little wooden frame on the outside of the honeycomb, and then that holds the machine, keeps it from moving. That's what's in front in my secondary enclosure. Come here, get off the computer. All right, guys, this is Callie. She's came to visit, but
yeah, I guess I don't have an issue with my lasers wobbling around or walking too much. So I haven't had to address that issue.
all right. Cannot get the home laser every time the y-axis is not consistent. That's going to be a belt or an alignment issue in the more than likely I'm going to say belt or either the timing linkage between the two if you're not getting consistent returns. I've never had those problems with either one of my X tools, but I've heard of a lot of other people having them. And the correction was to tension the belts and set the timing. What do you think, Steve?
Well, the other thing that I tend to do is I will home the first time I power the machine on, or if it gets bumped. After that, I try to make sure it's using absolute coordinates. And instead of having it go back to home, I'll have it go to a set coordinate that's out of the way where it's still going to know where it's at and not need to rehome. Because every time it hits those limit switches, if anything's off, it has the possibility of setting that home slightly different than what it did the time before. So I will have it home once and then work from there. And at the end of the job, I usually have it go to the back, but on the X tool, that's where home is, but maybe not have it go all the way to home. So maybe set it at, 10 centimeter or 10 millimeters in from where home would be. And then it's out of the way, but it's keeping its point. But then you got to make sure you don't knock it out of the way.
Yeah. I use like a 5 in, 5 down return location with all my machines so that it returns to the top left corner. But yeah, with the X tool too, one of the things that I will say is make sure that your framing speed is not too high, because those things do rebound a little bit. If your frame speed's too high when it homes, when it hits those switches, it'll rebound kind of sporadic. D1 Pro. All right, let's see what this is. I've got a cat crawling around my computer again. All right. Yeah, they made those cables really short. I will second that. Those cables needed to have been a little bit longer.
And Norbert put in a good comment on there. The grub screw on the belt gear that runs between the two side axes, if one of those is loose, that could cause a little bit of slipping.
Yeah. The timing linkage between the two, that's what you're talking about?
There you go. Yep.
Yeah, that's what that tends to be a problem a lot of times for people. Remove the bottom colored shield. All right. This is a safety issue for some guys. So if you take that off, you did it because you wanted to, not because me or Steve told you to. But that little shield does get in the way. And if you're using an enclosure and you're using glasses and proper safety equipment, it's really not necessary, but it is kind of a third layer of protection for you. So you just need to make that conscious decision of whether you want to take it off or whether you want to leave it on there. You can even take it off, and I cut 1/4 of an inch off of mine prior to taking it off altogether, and that helped out a lot. You still get a little bit of benefit from the cover, but it doesn't get hung up near as bad, and it cuts pretty well on a fine tooth band on a bandsaw. Okay, this guy's asking a question. I don't know of anything on that. I'll let you look at it and see.
No, and that seems to be a common problem with those smaller air filters, is that people are wondering where to get replacement cartridges for them and such. So I have not used the X Tool one. I've played around with the smaller Comgrow one, and I'm hoping to get the Monport one in shortly. But now is that is it the thicker, whiter, almost like a Brillo pad kind of material on that one, or is it something else that's their pre-filter?
I don't have one, so I can't say for sure. I'm still trying to go through these comments. We're getting backed up on them.
That's good.
Yeah. If guys, if I don't answer your questions, or if we don't answer your questions, it's a job sitting here trying to read through these things and talk at the same time. The Comgrow Z1, if I'm not mistaken, mine was 400 by 400. I don't know why the Y would be maxing out.
Yeah, it's
got a big module on it.
That's what it's stated. I think most people they're getting around 390-ish, depending on where. I don't have mine next to me, but if your limit switch, that's on the rail, that may have, I don't remember if that's held in by an adjustable screw or not, but if you can bump that back a little ways, so that your modules doesn't hit the rail, but still hits your limit switch, it could just be triggering.
Left side one, the left side one is on the rail.
Yeah, so that might have been installed too far forward and needs to be moved back a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, the Comgrow, the Comgrow smoke eater, or whatever you want to call it, it will work, but like I said, just like any of these machines, any of these things, even my little dust collection for sawdust up here, the filter is going to kind of be the Achilles tendon of that thing. I mean, if the filter stops up, it's not going to do you any good. And if you can't get filters, which I do know on Comgrow's page, you can get the filters, but the way they've got it set up is tricky, because you have to go as if you're going to order another smoke purifier, and then you change down at the bottom from the smoke purifier to the filter elements, and then you can order them that way. But if you just go searching their website for the elements themselves, you can't find them. That was a problem for me, but I managed to slip upon that one day. All 3 filters for $130. Ooh, that's a lot of filters. I believe I'd be trying to find a window. Yeah, Blue Sky said he got 398 by 398 out of his Z1, which I thought mine was pretty close, but the 20 watt, you lose like 40 millimeters of that.
So on that pre-filter, since it's just that kind of Brillo type webbing, you might be able to find that material as like a pre-filter type thing through an HVAC supplier, and then just cut it to size. Like I said, I haven't looked at that one specifically, but it's just there to try to catch the larger particulate. So that might be something to look through. Might not be able to find it at your big box store, but you might be able to find it through online for some HVAC supplies and such.
Well, around here we just redneck it up, and I go to Dollar General and get an air filter from my air conditioner and take some scissors to it.
There you go. That's how they did it for Apollo 11 for those air scrubbers, or 13, yeah. Apollo 13. Sorry, they had to make the square filters fit in a round hole or backwards. I forget which way that was.
Hey, sometimes a little ingenuity and a good sharp pair of scissors, you can fix things.
Duct tape, right?
Yeah, I try to stay away from duct tape. I like the Gorilla Tape a little better. It holds up better under sunlight. Well, we got caught up on the questions, and they just quit coming.
If we missed one, go ahead and put it back in there, and we'll try to catch it again.
I'm looking through. See, I think we caught. Oh, wait, something just popped up here. 20 by 20 M13 furnace filter on a box fan. Hey, whatever works for you, man. We used to use those to as like shop purification systems for sawdust and stuff. It works. What is the lowest height of the solid camera? That's a tricky question.
Yeah, so that's going to depend on a number of things: the work area that you're trying to cover, and then also the type of camera you're using. I think the smallest one that I found that might work on your typical 400 by 400-ish range was going to be around 8 inches. I think was pushing about the lowest you could go with it was like 170-degree wide angle lens. I think was something ridiculously wide. I never actually tested it, so I'm not sure how skewed it might have gotten out into the extents, but I think that's about the closest that you can get. There is a tool within Lightburn that allow you to see the different cameras, and it'll tell you, you can measure, and you'll put in kind of the work area of your bed and then the height that you have to work with, and it'll give you a few options for cameras and such. But really, most any decent camera, even a lot of web cameras that you use in your computer, will work just fine. It's just got to go through both calibrations and play around with that, and it needs to be able to cover the workspace there.
Yeah, Dottie, if you'll go to my channel and go to the videos and just search for keyword camera, I've got 3 or 4 options that I use. I've got different cameras in almost every enclosure that I have. I've got 2 fisheye cameras, 2 flat lens cameras, and I've actually used a Logitech webcam before. They all work. Now, there is going to be some variation with any camera that you get. No camera is going to be a 100% perfect, but it's a great tool. It's really nice for kind of like, visualizing what your piece is going to look like with the image on it, that kind of thing. But you always want to frame even when using the camera. Don't trust them 100%. Now, some days my camera is spot on and I can drive tacks with it, but then other days you get into a different part of the work area and it's 1/4 of an inch, sometimes a 1/2 inch off. So just make sure you calibrate everything and just get what works for you. But my enclosures range from probably 10 inches above the workspace to 22. And those cameras that I have all work in that range. This guy's asking for parts. No, we need to start like a laser junkyard, like a pull apart for lasers.
Researchers find parts for laser engravers other than going to return. Unfortunately, a lot of the parts are fairly specific, especially when it comes to mounting the module. So unless you know a machinist or are good with a 3D printer and can adapt parts to it, we're pretty much stuck going back to the manufacturers for them. Now, there are a lot of third-party designers for parts, whether they're machined out of aluminum or printed out of 3D on 3D printers to replace some of the lifting blocks to give you more adjustability that might work in that situation. So definitely look on Etsy and through some of the Facebook support groups and such, but not as far as any like commercial generic third-party. You can go to some of your places like Alibaba, Geek Buying, even on Amazon, and maybe find third-party sellers of the OEM parts, but they're going to be dependent on whether the manufacturer has them as well. So
yeah, if you've got any extra shoulder, I'll be honest with you, here at the shack, we'd be getting us a tap and drill that thing out just one size bigger and rethread it and just go with a little bit bigger thumb screw. That would be an option if you have the ability and you have the resources to do that. I don't know what size that is, but I know it's a real small screw. So I would think you could just go one size up, cut those threads out, cut some new ones, and then substitute that screw.
So yeah, sometimes some of those parts, like Jason's mentioning, it's a fan on the top. Sometimes those are a semi-stock size that's used in electronics that you could maybe find a replacement for, as long as it's got the same diameter, same thickness, and then also is going to be running about the same amperage and such. You might be able to find a third-party one, but
yeah, most of the lasers, most of the fans I see, if you'll measure the fan, the bolt spacing and everything, they look like they're just common like electronic fans. I don't think there's anything special about them. How do you like the Comgrow large enclosure? I'm guessing he's talking about like the big enclosure, like the enclosure shelter building.
Well, that's your survival tent, right? You fit inside yours.
Yeah. Hey, it worked. It's a little big for me. But
if you have the space for it, I like it because you have extra room in there. It's reflective on the inside, and so I think, what was it? Norbert was asking about lighting as well with the cameras. And so having that reflective interior with just the LED strip that they provide makes it very bright in there. And that helps, you see, and the camera work in there. So that's nice. And I've actually been able to put a secondary webcam in there if I want to have it for monitoring or trying to capture video while doing some instructional type stuff. But it does take up a lot of space, and that's kind of the big downfall to it. Is I think it's what 38 inches tall or something like that, and 26 inches
Yes.
square. It's pretty good size. So it also just has a clear window in front, so you're still going to want to make sure you're wearing your glasses at all times. I've heard maybe they're going to redo that with a more opaque window, but I'm happy with it in its spot because I've got the room for it. If you're looking for something smaller, you might be a little surprised at how big it is once you get it assembled. So
Yeah, now the cool thing about it is, especially if you're going to use Comgro's camera mount system and everything, there's plenty of room for that because you got to have a lot of headroom for that Comgro camera mount. And like Steve said, it is very bright. The lights they give you, the way it goes together, it's bright enough that you can see what you're doing. I did like the fact that it had the flaps on either side, so you can go out with your ventilation and your cables. Kind of user's choice on that. It's just a little too big for what I needed here in the shack. It takes up a little bit too much room. Square footage here is very valuable to me. Now it is still being used. I'm just not the one using it. But it's just not. It wasn't practical for here. Now I have heard a lot of guys saying that they're turning them over sideways and using it for the long slide machines, but I can't say for sure if that works or not. But several people have said they've done it.
Gerard's asking, do you need both honeycomb pins with magnets? Do I need honeycomb pins along with the magnets? I use them both, but not necessarily interchangeably. So it kind of depends on what I need to do and what I'm trying to do. And so what you really can do is just go on Amazon and find rare earth magnets and look for something that's maybe, I've got some that I think are like 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch by, maybe an 1/8 or a 1/16. And they're plenty strong to hold things down. They stay out of the way, and you can buy a stack of 25 for probably $8 to $10. And then the pins are nice because they can also be a post that you can run your material up against. So if you want to kind of make a makeshift quick jig, you can set a couple of those in line in an L shape, and it can kind of be your positioning jig as well. Whereas the magnets, they'll stick to the bed, but magnets have a great pull resistance, but they don't have lateral shearing resistance as well. So they can still move if you bump them, depending on their strength. So that's where having the pins, having a physical connection can help out. So I just like having them both. And you can cut those out of just some plywood. They're just like make an L or a J shape that fits in that honeycomb weave. You don't necessarily need to have a 3D printer or something special for them. So I like having a collection of them all.
Yeah, sorry about the sneeze, guys, but this cat is over here, like handling business, grooming herself right here beside me, and there's cat hair flying everywhere. But yeah, I like having different options. I like the pins. I like the magnets. You can never have too many options for holding stuff still. And of course, I use my jig kits a lot too. But definitely, whatever works for you, depending on the material. If you're doing like paper, if you're cutting paper or cardboard or something like that, magnets tend to work really well because paper and cardboard both will curl real bad, or either if you're like me, your vacuum table will try to suck it out of the workspace. Yeah, sorry about the sneeze there, Michael. I couldn't help it. She's sitting over here just scratching and throwing fur everywhere, and I got some of it in my face, I believe. The goggles that come with the X-Tail are proper. What is it good? Yeah, the ones that come with the X-Tool, those are not. They're not my favorite. I guess they work. These are my guys here. These are the free mascots, and this pair gets used a lot. There should be You gonna put a link in there?
I'll find it. Yep.
But there should be some links in mine and Steve's videos. I know Steve has a different variation of these glasses. I think his are, as far as the rating and everything, they're the same, but Steve has prescription glasses that he wears. So the pair that he uses are a little bit bigger so that they'll fit over your prescriptions if you need them to do that. And they have a couple of other designs. I actually need to go in there and look, because last time I was on Amazon, I saw some pretty cool looking newer models for these. So I need to upgrade.
Yeah, they have a few different styles. I think yours are style 2 and the ones I use are style 5 or something like that. So they have the same rating, and the thing you're looking for is that nanometer wavelength that they're actually rated. They should be on the glasses that they're rated, and they'll have that OD rating, optical density. And I think what's recommended for the diode lasers is an optical density of 4 or 5, and these provide 6 in the 190 to 550, as well as the 800 to 1100. So it'll work for both the regular infrared as well as the what's the other one I'm thinking of? Both the modules that come with the X tool. It'll work for both of those.
Yeah, I don't think these won't work for CO2s though.
No, those are up at that's up in the 10, 11,000. And actually plexiglass is fairly resistant to the CO2 wavelength. So
yeah,
typical safety glasses are actually helpful around CO2s. You definitely still want to get some rated for it, but that's when, you got your top panel on your CO2 laser, you wear a pair of actual safety glasses on top of that, you're doing yourself at least better service there.
Oh yeah, the more layers of protection you have, the better. That way, if one fails, you still got a couple to go. He said UV, Steve.
There you go.
Yeah, ultraviolet, 451 nanometers in it.
It's been a long week at work, and so my thinking today is a little slow.
Yeah, you look a little tired sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a busy week too. I was out of town, didn't get sleep in my own bed. And guys, you don't realize how big you are until you have to sleep in a twin size bed. I literally had like an inch of space on either side of my shoulder, and my feet hung off the bed all week. And I could only lay on my back, because if I tried to roll, I would fall off. And if I tried to do the little shuffle, I'd uncover myself, and it was kind of cold in the barracks we were staying in. So I'm spoilt. I'm used to a much larger bed. Max had a ball because he got to, hang out and chill with other dogs, but it was rough. Thought you didn't need glasses with the CO2. That is a falsehood, guy. CO2 is an invisible laser, but it can mess you up.
Yeah, most of them will have that plexiglass cover on the laser, and then you still want to protect your eyes, just like you do with these diodes, because the flashback can be real.
Yeah. Now on my machine, on the Mon port, I know it's got the safety switch, and as long as that's working, technically you shouldn't be able to see it unless you took the glass out of it or something. But yeah, now any laser, you don't want that light to reflect back on you. There's your 5.5 watt. You got a recommendation?
Yeah, they're not. I think the cost difference between a 5.5 versus a 10, unless you're just strictly doing engraving and don't plan to cut anything thicker than really lightweight 1/8 inch material or 16th inch, you'd be happy with a 5.5 watt. They have great detail, and they're definitely inexpensive, but the cost of a Comgrow Z1 and most typical 5 watt lasers is pretty close. And so if you think you're going to be doing any cutting of material, I would get something that's a 10 watt for sure. Considering that there's 20 and now 35 and 40s coming out. Yeah, I would, if someone's going to give one to you, play around with it, and it's great. You can do a lot with them, but if you can get at least a 10 watt, I would definitely go for that.
Looks like while we've been sitting here running our mouth, Darren said he tried the changing the finish position to 5-5, and he said it seems to be much more consistent. So, but yeah, I've got a video on that, Darren. Like I said, feel free to go through that content with keyword jig. There's a lot of videos on how to use a jig, how to create a jig. Just that's kind of my thing when it comes to that stuff. Like I said, what's your PO box to send a review loaner? I don't have a PO box, but you can email me and I'll send you my address. Which if you Google the Glack Shack, you'll get my address. I don't use a PO box. If you show up here and I don't want you here, I can get rid of you. I'm not one of these people that's hiding from anybody. But yeah. But yeah, if you got something you're making, send it to me and I'll try it out. But like I said, now.
So Darren, I mean, if you're pretty sure that your gantry is square and you're not having any your belts aren't too tight or too loose, I'd start looking at the limit switch, seeing if that is not triggering at the same time every time. It could be going bad. They do go bad. And you can get a bad one. I've had a couple 3D printers where I fought my Z-axis calibration for the same thing. It would home, and it would be a difference of 1 to 1.5 millimeters off. And on a 3D printer for your first layer, that is just frustrating as all get out. So if everything else seems square and mechanically right, I'd start looking at your limit switches.
Yeah, see, Philip's taking our advice on that too. So we do have good ideas every now and then.
Well, blind squirrel in a nut, something like that.
The laser where X equals 25. Had to turn off the limits. Did you say he turned off the limit switches from the factory? Is that the same guy that said he's having inconsistencies?
Yeah, Darren.
Yeah, you might want to turn those limit switches back on and slow your frame speed down and try that technique. The limit switches on the Pro model X tools, they're actually pretty consistent, but you don't want to slam into them at a really high speed. I did learn that if you're running anything over about 50 on your framing speed, back that guy down to 50. The slower you go on your framing speed, the more consistency you can get out of those limit switches, because they can only react so fast. And the faster that head's moving, you're going to get that little bounce. So try turning the limits back on and just slow your framing speed down to 50 or so, and then use the technique that me and Steve are telling you with the return to location, and just try that for a day or two and see what you think about it. I promise you it'll work fine, because I still run limit switches on my Pro. Now in the beginning I didn't like them because the framing speed was set to 100 and it just bounced off those limits. Gary the Bulldozer Man. I actually do know Gary. You must watch Rick and Bubba. But yeah, Gary's a character. He frequents some of the same restaurants I do in town. So, have you ever tried self-edging primer? Still try Molly Lou. I don't use either. I don't use any of that stuff, guys. Reason being is I use Cermark and it works. I've had really good luck with it. Have you used any of the dry Molly and stuff?
I bought a can of it, and I think a friend played with it briefly. I haven't. Anything I really need to know that it's going to be good. I use my brush on Cermark or the Brilliance spray can stuff. You can get decent results with some of that stuff, but after a while of trial and error with some of it, I just kind of wanted to go with something that would work. And if you get good at applying it, a little bit goes a long way. I know it's expensive, but hopefully you're doing some paying jobs, or you don't mind spending the money on the gifts or whatever you're doing, and it's worth it. So not something I have a lot of experience in, other than, trying different coatings on glass and such. That's something I have played with a few different paints and different things on as well. Actually, matter of fact, today I was just looking at cordless airbrushes applying like tempera paint to stuff. I might have to play around with one of those because I'm getting tired of the extra pump and the cables and the hoses and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of the mustard thing, Philip, in reacting with stainless steel as well. So,
Well, mustard's actually got a pretty high pH. So that, I guess maybe that's what it is. People use it to tenderize meat a lot when they're grilling and stuff. So maybe
I was gonna say
that's
it's a good binder when smoking a pork butt or something like that. But
yeah. But I've never used it in my lasers. I'm gonna be honest with you. The thought of trying to clean mustard out of the honeycomb or out of the laser head is just not something that appeals to me. And I've used tempera paint before, but I don't have an airbrush. So I had to paint it on, and then every line that the paintbrush left dictated over into the engrave. And I just have such good results with Surmark. And yes, it's expensive, but like Steve said, once you learn how to just barely brush that stuff on there with that spray nozzle, it's hard to get away from Surmark because it's easy, it's quick. I know it's going to work. I know what the settings are, and it's hard for me to change. My motto on that is if it's working, I'm not gonna mess with it. Especially if I'd hate to go buy a bunch of tumblers and try something new, and then those things come right back because the engraving came off or whatever. Yeah, I can imagine if you're using mustard on your engraves, it probably smells like you're grilling.
or something.
That's what we need to
Yeah,
do.
you want your shop to smell good. Just take a pumpkin pie and some cookies out there and caramelize the sugar on top of those.
No, D Black, the framing speed is on the move tab, and if I can get this to work without killing everything, I'll try to show you here.
But new laptop to work.
Yeah, hey, I put this thing to work, babe. But if I can get it to do it, I got to get it back maximized. I'm still learning this software, so let me see if this works. Maybe it won't shut my audio off. But right here on the move tab, right over here, this speed where you see speed right here, that is your framing speed. So that's what you need to be looking for on that. Did that work? Did my audio go away?
Nope, we had you the whole time.
Okay, cool. But that's the framing speed, guys. I hope you got that. Because I don't have dual monitors in here in the shack, so I can't tell what I'm doing in the stream. But $2 for some. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I'm doing glass and I don't want it to be black, I just use regular flat black spray paint because it does a great job of making the glass frost, but it doesn't stick to the glass. It actually gets blasted loose from the glass. So if I'm doing glass, I just use regular flat black paint.
All right, I would think even just running a lower power should still have the same effect of etching the glass to some degree, but not actually fusing the Surmark to the material. I found that with Brilliance marking spray because I think Brilliance actually needs a little higher power than Surmark to affect. So if you're trying to run it on a 5 or a 10 watt, you're probably going to have different results than on a 20 watt as far as how well it sticks to metal. But then if you use it on glass on a lower setting, you still get that white frosted look because it's not actually fusing it to the material there. But
yeah, I've got a matter of fact. Here we go. Let me look. Hey, let's get a little more work out of it there, Steve. But this is some glass that I did a engrave on for a picture frame, and that is nothing but just flat black, cheap as you can buy spray paint. And once you engrave it, little paint stripper, pull that stuff off there, and you're good to go. And it doesn't make it real dark. It just gives it that just enough tone to be able to see it. So That's that. All right, we're getting close, guys. 54 minutes and 35 seconds. I don't want to keep y'all much past an hour. And once again, guys, if y'all missed it last week, I apologize. Rookie mistake. I'm just now learning this this whole live stream stuff that all you young kids are doing. Somebody asked if you using OBS. I'm not sure what OBS is. I think you're talking about the streaming software, maybe.
Yeah, so that's an open source. I think it's open broadcasting software. And
okay,
no,
so that's I'm not using.
It's a free software that you can set up to do live streaming. I've played with it at work and such. It's not difficult, but it's not as easy to set up. So
no, I'm actually using Restream currently. Restream, the one that Steve told me about. I've been playing around with it. What's that one? Streamlabs.
Streamlabs OBS is kind of they took OBS and put some nice tools on top of it.
Yeah.
So that's another one.
I haven't tried this.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Yeah. I haven't tried the Enduramart. Like I said, once I find something that works, it's really hard for me to change unless somebody sends it to me and asks me to try it out. Because like I said, I am a creature of habits. I've got notes for Ceramart going back for a while, and I just can't get away from it. All right, so one more thing too before we go. If you guys haven't, before we let you go, please go over to my friend Vintauri's page there on YouTube if you haven't already. And it's easy enough to find. Make sure you've subscribed to him and vice versa, guys. This is a little team. This is a little team deal here. And we both want to see everybody, and be able to let y'all guys see our content. A lot of the stuff that we do with the reviews and stuff like that, we do so that, when questions are asked of us, we know how to answer them, as well as if you're researching to maybe buy another piece of gear or something, you'll know what the pros and cons are. I know myself and Steve both are always going to be honest with those. If you do see a review, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just giving you the honest truth about it. So, and Steve's the same way, because we discuss a lot of these things. And, if he finds a bug with something, then I'll test it and see if I've got the same problem. But go check him out on his page if you haven't already. And also, Steve and I both are trying to get our Facebook pages up and going. And so if you're a Facebooker and you have a Facebook page, then you can go over there and follow us on Facebook as well, because we're trying to get those up. And those are a little bit different platform, but we do stream to. You're streaming to your Facebook too, aren't you, Steve?
I should be.
Yeah, I think it shows up here that there's a link Facebook, so I'm pretty sure you are. But yeah, guys, anytime you have a question, you can email me through Facebook, and I'm pretty sure Steve's the same way. Facebook is a lot better for being able to receive messages than YouTube, because sometimes, your questions will get lost in the comments on YouTube and may or may not get responded to. But in Facebook, you have that option to message us. And that's a little easier to keep up with and be able to generate that contact if you need anything from us. But that's about all I had for closing. Steve, what you got?
No, yeah. If we missed your question during the live, you can always throw it in the comments after on the video as well, or like Clark was saying, go ahead and hit us up on our Facebook channels and such, because we can definitely try to help out after these as well. And you never know, we're always looking for good ideas as far as video content that's helpful. So if you have a question that maybe takes a little bit longer, one of us can maybe throw it into a quick video explanation. So keep throwing those at us throughout the week. Follow us on the socials, because I know we always throw out little snippets of what we're doing as well. And it's just both of us, we're just looking forward to continue building this community. It's a hobby for mine. It's a pre-retirement gig for Clack.
That's right.
And so we're doing it just to kind of more for the community than anything else. So
yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I kind of fell into this accidentally, and you did too. Basically, just kind of getting on here and talking with guys and showing people how to do stuff. I just kind of fell into it accidentally, but I have actually enjoyed the heck out of it. And and I'm a little bit of a hyperactive person anyway. So as many of you may already know, but yeah, it's enjoyable. I'm trying to put those links down here, but I don't have a link for my own Facebook page. I got one for Steve's, and don't have one for mine. Imagine that. So I'm having to go over here and get that. But mine, if you just Google the Clack Shack, I have got that thing on lock. You will find my Facebook. You will find Instagram, the whole 9 yards. There we go. I finally found it. But yeah, it's been really fun. Like I said, and we started doing this. I think what's this, our 6th or 7th live we did, and
yeah, getting up there.
yeah, and it keeps growing. It continues to grow, and you guys showing up and providing the content by asking questions is kind of what feeds it. So keep it coming. And if you have any questions during the week, you can just write those down and save them till Sunday night if you want, because I guess we're still on for this coming up Sunday, right, Steve?
Yeah, definitely. It's winter up here. What else am I going to do?
Yeah. Is it Gerard, or how do you say that? See there, he's complimenting me for being. I guess he's complimenting me for being a redneck. I'm not sure if he's trying to pick a fight or if he's complimenting me, but either way. But yeah, hey, you can call me what you want, country, redneck, whatever. I'm just like everybody else that lives around me for the most part. We got a few people that have moved in from other places that don't kind of, they don't fit the mold, but I'm just here down south, and we make do with what we have and have for years. So you get a little creative when you have to do that. Okay, it is a compliment. I was just making sure. Sometimes people say things that I think is a compliment, and I'm like, "Thanks, man." And then my friends are like, "Man, he was trying to talk trash." So, but anyway, I appreciate you guys. Like I said, go hit those likes and subscribe buttons if you would, so that we can kind of continue to build the community. Add it to your calendar next Sunday. I guess that would be. I'm not even going to try because I've had a long day. But next Sunday we'll be back for more questions and hopefully a little more fun. Kind of hyperactive. Yes, May. Oh, hey guys, May made it. Is in the house. May, if y'all don't know, is my good friend. She is also a YouTube sensation. She's like the biggest YouTube celebrity that I know. And she's been really helpful to me because when she stumbled upon my little lonely channel, I think it was me and like 30 other people watching my videos. And she's been a big help to me. She's kind of my inspiration, I guess you could say. But she does a lot with crafts and paper crafting, all that kind of stuff. And if you're regular on my channel, you know that May puts me to work making things for her. But if you haven't already, go over there and like blow her notifications up. And tell her it's a payback from the Clack Shack because for all those times that she's messed with me. But yeah, I am a little hyperactive. Okay, they tried to put me on Ritalin multiple times when I was a kid, and that's how I managed to stay going as much as I do. And she says hey to you there, Steve.
Well,
May saying hey to you there.
Good. I know you turned me onto her channel, and so I've been following and they do some fun stuff, all sorts of craft type things, and a lot of cool live stream stuff as well. So if you're into making, creating, definitely go check them out. Very cool channel. So great to see you here today.
Do one day. We should do that one day, Steve. We should make cards. We should have like laser crafting.
Hey, I've done a couple on my review videos where I make some holiday themed cards and such.
See, that's what I think I'm gonna make a Valentine's card on the laser.
There you go.
I'm just gonna show May how it's doing.
Yeah, that's what I need to do. I've done cardstock and EVA foam I've made some ornaments, I've made some cards, made some Halloween decorations. So you got to jump on it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's enough. We've run over our limit. And until next time, y'all have a good day and be safe.
All right, we'll see y'all next week.